There's nothing more annoying than trying to go out windsurfing and being marginally underpowered or not quite enough wind to get you going. Ooh, that was good timing in that little gust. And that's what this session's about. How to get going in marginal winds or when you're slightly underpowered. Making the most of every little breath of wind that comes through and getting you up and on the go and not the person left behind unplaning. Welcome back to the Ride Along channel, where the wind today is very on and off. Very difficult to select what sail to be using, what board to be using. Whoop. As the wind is changing direction and gusting on and off quite a lot just now. The perfect time to talk about gust selection and efficiency to get going, making the most of every little breath of wind. To start with, the kit I'm on is a 6.5 ACX from Point-7, of course. Really nice, no-cammed, free ride, free race sail. Should give me plenty and plenty of power when the gust actually hits me. It should be nice and smooth. No cams, but some nice solid battens. And like you might remember from a sail tuning session I did a while ago, this batten just below the boom is crossing the boom there. So I've managed to give it very little outhaul to make sure I can get as much power in it when that wind hits me as possible. And as obvious as it sounds, selecting your kit and setting the kit up correctly will make a difference. I'll rephrase that, will make a huge difference to how efficient we are when that gust actually hits us. If you have got the luxury and slightly marginal wind and you're not sure if there's enough power to get you going, a slightly larger board is one choice. That will definitely give you a bit more flotation, of course. Here's a bit of a gust, just about on the go. I'll talk through the technique in that in a moment. That slightly larger board will make it a bit easier. Of course, a slightly larger sail will make things easier too. Or if it's your only sail, make sure that you tune it carefully. You need enough downhaul to give you the power, but not so much that you put on too much of a leech and you've depowered it too much. Similarly with that outhaul, loosen it off so you've got a decent belly. But if you haven't got the batten like on my freeride sail here, crossing the boom, not so little outhaul that it then creases the sail against the boom and doesn't create smooth airflow. If any of those things aren't making too much sense just now, follow the link in the description to this video and I'll put you through to my rig tuning video where I talk a little bit more about this downhaul and outhaul setting. But the way we set our equipment makes a huge difference. I've even put my boom up ever so slightly just now because that will help me get the power and drive it through into the front of the board and accelerate. So a slightly higher boom can help if you're slightly underpowered too. Now, and it is gusting 15, maybe 20 knots just now, very on and off. So one of the big things I'm focusing on when I'm thinking about getting going and which gust to use is looking for that gust. Looking upwind, looking for the gust, the lull, and of course looking for what the water state's like in front of me. If it's a bit choppy, just now I was following a powerboat, it was a bit choppy, much harder to get planing. And or thinking tactics over technique, I actually used the back of one of those ramps from the powerboat, almost like a wakeboarder would or a surfer would. And I used that ramp to help me get going. I suspect you won't be following a powerboat particularly often, but if you can use a ramp of a wave, that would definitely help you to get going if it's a little bit marginal. Now back to the technique. Looking for the wind, looking for the gust and the lull. Flatboard is very key when it's marginal. If I jump in the straps too early, I'm going to sink the board and possibly skew into the wind. I need to keep the board as flat as I can by, here we go, by driving through my front foot, the toes of my front foot in particular, not just jumping back in the straps because I've got some wind. There's the drive through the front foot. As I step in that front foot strap, it's an extra little push just to make sure I don't upset the trim too much. You may also notice I haven't yet stepped into the back foot strap because chances are when I step in the back foot too early or too aggressively, or there was a subtle movement to get into it there. I'm still just really trying to keep the board flat. And the gust has stopped again. I can see another gust coming in. The rig, of course, is staying well away from me. Woo, there's a big gust. Let's get going in this gust. The rig, of course, is counterbalanced well away from me. And if I am going upwind through extended arms, I can keep the rig counterbalanced. Just now, the rig's going back. The rig's going back and my body weight is coming forwards, which actually helps with the trim as well. It also helps keep my power on nicely. You notice I'm not really pulling hard with my back arm. I'm using that harness and the harness line set nice and far back in particular to stay sheeted in and, oh, there it is, driving through the harness. And that links us into stance in a moment. Feeling I'm going to drop off the plane in this jibe. Just about kept it going. Bring the camera around so you can see me. A lot of questions about this camera setup, by the way. Hang fire. The camera intro is coming in another video sometime soon. Maybe it's already up there, depending on when you're watching this. Now then, the stance changes a lot and makes a huge difference when we're trying to get going in marginal wind. If I unhook and just hang off the boom down here, it's very easy to control gusts. In particular, the stronger gust. It's not the most efficient stance. A very straight stance through my front leg, through my hips up to my shoulders. You can see I'm very straight now. Very tense through my abs. Straight and stiff. Effectively makes you lighter on the board. It's a bit marginal just now. I'm just about holding myself onto the plane. Very tense core. Very straight, hopefully you can see that through the front leg, the hips, and actually, as I'm describing it, the wind has picked up nicely, so I'm starting to drop down a little bit more. Now, as much as we want to focus on, I'll rephrase that, as much as students, and probably you guys watching this, want to know the techniques about getting planing in marginal winds or maximum efficiency, I think the tactics are just as important as the technique. When you're marginally powered up, don't just hang off the boom and head downwind hoping for that gust to pull you forwards. Stay upwind, aim upwind, and select the correct gust. This gust just hitting me now is just about enough. No, it's not. Instead of just hanging off downwind, wait for it to get a bit stronger. I'm now feeling a bit more wind in the sail. Straightening and pushing through that extended front leg. Not enough again. A little tester. Here's a bit more. Push through that front foot. That keeps the board flat. Teasing into the foot strap, keeping the rig forwards and away. And a very straight stance. Keeping that power on as I do. By committing through the harness, not just working that back arm. A little bit upwind makes the back foot strap easy, that's standard stuff. And now that gust has filled in nicely, I can really start to track up wind using heel pressure. Final thing that I think will help us getting going in efficiency is having our arms fairly close together. There's no need for a huge wide spread. We're losing efficiency with the sail and energy. My hands are fairly close together just now, and I can still control what's going on here, just through subtle movement. It's not a ton with our back arm.